The one thing I wanted to ask you about was we saw your tweet, and it really resonated with me about the illegal activity that we saw on the Capitol, and then how you and your office could step in to not only assist investigators in the Capitol, but maybe even investigators here in Pennsylvania. Can you talk about that and the conversations that you've had today about that situation?
Well, Ryan, I'll speak broadly. Certainly, I'm not going to get into any specific investigations or specific situations, but I will tell you that I'm working closely with my law enforcement partners here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and at the federal level. I recognize the difference between peaceful protest and the violence that we saw yesterday in the Capitol. Indeed, it really was an act of insurrection. And I want to be very clear that if you organized a plan to carry out yesterday's illegal attack on our country from Pennsylvania, and we have evidence that you participated, well, we will use every tool at our disposal to hold you accountable.
Talk about, moving forward, does your office have conversations with investigators in the Capitol? Is there a collaboration that'll exist here moving forward? And I know you can't talk specifically about an investigation, but can you talk about the collaborative effort that it'll take over the next days and weeks to ensure that those who need to be held accountable are held accountable?
Well, we always work collaboratively with our law enforcement partners to keep people safe here in Pennsylvania, and now is no different. As it relates to the events at the U.S. Capitol yesterday and what led up to it, certainly we're engaged in conversations with our law enforcement partners in order to address what occurred yesterday and to try and keep people safe going forward.
There were still objections to Pennsylvania's electors and the election. A lot of Republicans still saying they didn't feel like it was a fair process. And you've reiterated several times that you've looked into this and you really haven't found significant evidence. Could you reiterate that again for maybe folks who haven't heard the message?
What led to yesterday's insurrection at the state, let me say that again, Ryan, I apologize.
It's all right, no, go ahead.
What led to yesterday's insurrection in our U.S. Capitol was a series of lies that were told to people over a prolonged period of time. What I found truly shocking was that after the Capitol was finally secure, the first thing that some members of Congress did, including some from here in Pennsylvania, was to return to the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate and continue to lie. I made a point to point out every single time, it was hard to keep up with all of them, but every single time I could keep up with a member of Congress from Pennsylvania who lied about an election that occurred in their own state that led to their own victories for Congress. Yet somehow we're to believe them when they lie saying that the election was illegal. Their results should be certified, but Joe Biden's shouldn't. Those lies are dangerous. It's not only unbecoming of a United States congressman, but you can draw a straight line between those lies that they tell over and over and over again and the violence that we saw at the Capitol yesterday. Words matter. Hate speech begets hate crimes. We have seen an uptick in violence in this country because of those lies, because of the conspiracy theories that are pushed forth. The saddest part of this, when it comes to those members of Congress, is, they do it to suck up to the president. They do it because they're apparently spineless and they're sycophants. And they think that somehow, some way, they'll get some kind of personal political gain out of this. They put self before country and they lied. And this is the result of their corrosive conduct.
Understandable. I did want to cycle back to one more thing before I let you go. You talk about pursuing any leads about organized activity, what could you charge someone with? What would a charge look like for a Pennsylvanian who traveled to the Capitol with malintent?
It depends on their conduct. There are any number of laws here in Pennsylvania that could be triggered, but I'm certainly not going to get into any specifics at this time.
Yeah, and from our understanding, you agree that, and we saw it. I think one of those who died was a Pennsylvanian, but the Pennsylvanians were there, right? I mean, you have evidence of that.
The mayor of Washington, D.C. spoke about it, Mr. Phillips, who I believe of Schuylkill County, who died yesterday. I don't know the circumstances surrounding Mr. Phillips' death. I don't know where he was at his time of death. I don't know what led to it. But certainly we know that there were people from Pennsylvania who were there. I'm not suggesting that they were breaking the law by virtue of being there, but certainly we know that there were people from Pennsylvania who were there and participated yesterday.
And that's what you want to find out.